welcome to Whispering Willows. I'm Tanya and I'm a psychic medium.
I'm Jamie and I'm a psychotherapist.
And today we're going to be talking about attachment styles.
Yes.
So we took some tests and kind of dug into this subject and we're excited to talk about it today. So
yeah,
let's get started.
Okay, so first we're going to talk about how attachment styles form. And so essentially it is based on your caregivers, your primary and your secondary caregivers, if there's two. And, it depends upon if, as a child, did you feel like you were safe with your caregiver?
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel safe? Did you feel supported? Did you feel soothed by them, right? If you were upset, did your caregiver appropriately comfort you, or in a way that felt good to you?
Right.
That actually you felt comforted by whatever they did or didn't do. And also were you able to explore? So did you have, obviously as a toddler, elementary school kid, you can't have a high amount of independence, but
right.
were you able
right.
to explore a little bit and see
right.
the world around you, or was it no, don't do that, no, don't
right.
touch that, don't,
Right.
So,
right.
kind of exercising that little bit of autonomy.
Right, for sure.
And so then what happens is, as an adult, we develop this attachment style based on how we felt secure, right? It's all about security.
Right.
Feeling secure, feeling like if I behave this way, my needs will be met. Right? So if I cry, I will get comforted.
Right.
If I'm scared, I will, be talked to.
Right.
Or have a light put on for me.
Right.
Right? And so then it translates into our adult relationships, and specifically, a lot of times we talk about it in terms of romantic relationships. And so that's kind of what we're going to be focused on today, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's focus. I've already analyzed everyone I've ever dated, so I'm just letting you guys know. I know what you are. And I just want to announce that when I took the test, I got secure, so I know it wasn't me.
There you go.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I take full responsibility for anything that I did wrong in relationships. Okay? Disclaimer.
She doesn't always. Do you want to talk about the 4 kinds of attachment styles?
Yeah. So the first is secure. So secure is you're secure in your relationships, and you don't feel like you need to avoid. You don't feel like you need to be anxious or anything like that. The second is it's anxious, because it goes secure, anxious. Mm-hmm. So anxious is very this person might run away from me. They might not be there for me. So I need to cling on to them. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about the stage 4 clingers, but not always.
Not always.
But, I'm they might just kind of cling on. They don't want to lose you because they're used to being, walked away from, or someone not protecting them,
And this, I would just, sorry, this also can include I'm going to say women. I mean, it could be men too, but I think we see it more in women where we are with an abusive or a toxic partner, where we're too anxious in our security to pull away, or to break up with them, or leave them, and it's well, if only I clean the house better, then he'll stay, or if only I do this better, we take that anxiety on ourselves and we think we have to do something better.
And I really feel like these are where people don't feel like they're enough.
Yeah.
So an anxious would be someone that really doesn't feel like they're enough. And then avoidant. So I do have avoidant tendencies, because when I took the test, I was like, well, I wonder if I'll get avoidant, because I have been dismissive in the past of some things. Oh, well, that's not really an issue. Other people have more important issues. I've been dismissive that way. Mm-hmm. But that is very, the dismissive, avoidant. So you don't want to confront someone. You might know that something's going on, which I have, and you don't want to confront them because you're avoiding. You don't want any kind of arguments or anything like that. Conflict. You definitely don't want conflict, which that's why I thought I might be more, which I was insecure. I was in the secure section, but almost and avoidant in one category. So I can see where that would be, because I'm just like, I don't want to argue with you. I don't want anything that, let's just get along. Can we all just get along?
And the avoidant attachment style too is like, they avoid feeling too close to somebody, right? They avoid like vulnerability. They don't want to be vulnerable. They don't want to, like, they avoid intimacy a lot of times, or just like, ooh, you're getting too close, let me pull away, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So opposite of stage 5 clinger, we have an avoidant that's like, yeah, I'm okay with you living really far away. Okay, so, and then we have like the disorganized, which is going to be anxious and avoidant. They like push and pull. They pull away, and then all of a sudden they come in and they're just like, I love you, and we're going to work this out, and da-da-da-da-da, and everything's going to be great. And they're like stage 4 clinger, and then they're like, where is this person? And then they show back up 6 weeks later, and you're just like, really?
Are you speaking from experience?
Like, it's a cycle, rotation every 6 weeks.
Okay, so I think that we should talk a little bit about like how those two, like how the different styles work together. Like you said, like if somebody is avoidant and somebody is anxious, right? The anxious person is going to be like, love me, and the avoidant person is going to be like, whoa, they're getting too close, let me run away. Yeah, no. Exactly. Like, love me, and you're like pulling away. So, okay, so the anxious and the avoidant, like those two people together, that's a tough combination. The disorganized is going to be a tough combination for anybody.
Especially a secure person.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, when you take the test, it gives you like almost like a graph type situation where like the disorganized is over here, and then you've got secure here. So these two will not mesh well, but I feel like if you're secure, you can handle a little bit of anxiousness and you can handle a little bit of avoidant. Like, I understand that. I get that, because I feel like everyone's got a little bit of something in them.
For sure.
Even if you're secure, like you can feel, and I feel like the secure person would be able to handle and deal with either of those. But I feel like this one is just so way out there, like so far out, that it would be hard to like understand, why is everything so dramatic? Why do we have to go through all of this? And because I'm gonna try to avoid any kind of conflict. I'm like, I'm not interested. I really have to be passionate if I'm gonna have some kind of conflict.
Yeah.
So if you're over here just making up stuff to argue with me about, no thank you.
Yeah,
it's just not gonna work.
See, and I'm avoidant. Shocker. Very, very shocking. But yes, I have an avoidant attachment style. And so for me, if I were in the dating world, I would need to be with either a secure person. Yeah. Yeah. Probably a secure person.
A secure person.
Because if it's an anxious person and they're clinging to me, I'm going to be like, oh, no. Nope. Yeah. And I'm running away. And if it's disorganized, like I have no patience for your up and down, like, and that's going to throw me all off, and I'm going to like run the other direction. But yeah, so I need to date somebody who's secure. And unfortunately, secure attachments are the like lowest. Like there's fewer secure people in the world, so you're a rarity. But if you're anxious, avoidant, or disorganized, like there is hope. You can learn to become more secure, right? Yeah. Like by having really open communication with your partner, right? Like so if okay, you're secure, I'm avoidant. If we were in a relationship, I would have to be really open and communicative and be like, hey, when you I don't know.
Too much.
When you talk too much.
We are in a relationship, Jamie. Like, I mean, really.
When you talk over me.
Yeah, exactly. Continue.
But like, when you do this thing, I feel my like avoidant kick in, right? And I would have to recognize when my avoidant does kick in. And like, when I have like, if I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, I don't like Tanya anymore. I don't want to go out with Tanya anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, I have to really sit with myself and figure out why. Like, mm-hmm. did Tanya actually do something wrong? Or is this, like, something happened that, like, triggered this avoidant attachment in me, mm-hmm. and, like, I'm trying to run away for no good reason?
Yeah.
Right? So we really have to, like, sit with our feelings and analyze, like, mm-hmm. why am I feeling this way? And it's almost like some people can get to a point where it's like a light switch is flipped, mm-hmm. right? And, like you notice, oh, yeah, my avoidant kicked in.
Yeah. I can tell when I'm avoiding stuff. Mm-hmm. But, like, I do think that, like, when you, like, we do have discussions, and when you say stuff to me, I'm just like, okay, like, I'm understanding. The other thing is, like, I'm also self-aware, and I know, like, the things that I do, they're, like, habits or bad habits, mm-hmm. and it's, like, learning from those, and, like, Tanya, hold on, like, step back a second, you know, and, like, I'm very understanding, and I understand when you do come to me, but I think that as a secure person, that's just how I am, and I like mm-hmm. understanding that, you know, it honestly probably took a lot for you to even say it to me, mm-hmm. because you're trying to avoid conflict, mm-hmm. because you think that because of your previous relationships that I could possibly, like, get offended or something, and I'm like the mm-hmm. last person. I don't get offended by, like, anything. Mm-hmm. I don't take things personally. So I think that kind of helps with my security and, like, being secure in, like, what I'm doing. And if somebody says something to me, I'm like, okay, like, mm-hmm. you know, like, I'll try to handle that or whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
And, like, avoidant attachment doesn't always avoid conflict. Like, I know mm-hmm. in your case it does. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, like, an avoidantly attached person will, like, actually create conflict because then they have an excuse to run away from the relationship.
This is true.
Right? And so, again, that comes back to, like, be aware of your behavior. Be aware of, like, why are you feeling this way? Why are you acting this way? Like, that self-awareness, like you said.
Yeah. You know? I will definitely give someone enough rope to hang themselves. I'll just sit back and be like, okay. Like, you know, and mm-hmm. then because I'm avoiding all of it until it's enough, mm-hmm. and I'm like, all right, I've had enough of this, so this is what we're going to do now.
Yeah.
I'm done. Like, and when I'm done, I'm like, done. You know, I'm just like, okay, now.
Are you though?
I mean, it depends on the situation. If I'm having a good time, maybe I'm not completely done. But if you're aggravating me and it's so much drama, like, if it's a lot of drama, I'm done.
We were at the beach with our friends the other night watching the sunset, and
Jamie really had a good time.
One of our friends... I have some wine. What? It's me. One of our friends was going through a breakup, and one of our other friends had just sat down and, like, missed the start of the conversation.
Yeah.
And so, you know, they were like, oh yeah, we're talking about so-and-so's, like, they broke up with their partner. And so the friend who had just walked up was like, oh, is it like a Tanya breakup or like a for real breakup?
Okay, this is true, but in my defense, all of them only know me in one relationship. So that one relationship, probably in my lifetime, relationships that has happened in are two. Him and another one. Mm-hmm. And both of them were disorganized.
Nah. And it's funny because you can be a different attachment style with different people, right? Oh, yeah. Like, you're always mm-hmm. going to be, like, not always, but, you know, I mean, you have your primary one. Mm-hmm. But, like, with the relationship that you knew mm-hmm. me to be in, I was anxious.
Yeah.
Like, really anxious. And I still, to this day, like, I don't know why I was so anxious in that relationship. But, like, when I took the test, and we're going to put the link in on social media, so y'all can take the attachment style test for yourself. But, like, there's one section that says, you know, base it on your last relationship or whatever. And when I based it on that relationship, I came out as anxiously attached. Mm-hmm. But I know that that's not me in general. And so I retook it based on my relationship before him. Right. And I came out as avoidant, which makes a whole lot more sense.
Right.
So, yeah, it's interesting how, like, depending on your partner, your attachment style can be a little bit different.
I feel like they mold you. You know what I mean? Like, they kind of mold you into, because when you first, like, I always think of when I first go into a relationship, how I feel. Mm-hmm. Like, in my brain, I'm like, not thinking about them leaving me. Like, I just got into this relationship. I'm not thinking about that. I'm not worried about that. I don't need to cling to you. You don't need to call me. You don't need to text me all the time. If I have one text a day from you, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to be right there. And like I said, I enjoy long distance relationships because I enjoy my time. I feel like I connect really well through conversations and deep conversations.
Mm-hmm. And avoidants tend to be very independent. Mm-hmm. Right? Because think about it. If it forms in childhood, if you grow up, like, not feeling like you can turn to your caregiver for comfort or for, you know, to be soothed if you're upset or whatever, you learn that survival skill of, like, okay, I can take care of me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
I agree.
You know, so, I mean, translate that to adulthood, I'm very independent.
That was developed in me during that time when I was going through, you know, all those things where I was, like, having to sleep on my parents' bedroom floor and all that stuff. And, like, I was, like, they're just like, no, this is not happening. But they still protected me and let me sleep in their bedroom floor. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it was, like, they didn't, like, just leave me. No, just go in your room. Like, we're not dealing with this. It was, like, okay. Like, you know, they were annoyed and all this stuff because they didn't see it, but they still protected me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so that's why I think I knew that they would always be there for me. Mm-hmm. My parents also are still together, which is rare. Yeah. So I think that that's probably a big part. Yeah. Of, you know, this. And also people that I get in relationships with, none of their parents are still together. Mm-hmm. So I think that I understand, like, what a relationship is. And I also, like, you know how you feel like you're like, oh, I can help them. Yeah. Like, yeah, you know, I do that. Yeah. So I was like, oh, he needs me. No. Like,
And that's the trap that I always found myself in, was I was always choosing partners who were, you know, needed some kind of helping, some kind of, like, therapy, or, you know, like, they needed to be saved. And, like, here comes Jamie, like, I can save him. I can fix all of his problems. And that doesn't work out super well in the long run.
So...
And, like, you know, you were saying, like, your parents still protected you. Mm-hmm. You know, I think it's important to know, because sometimes, like, I give this quiz to a lot of my therapy clients, and it's easy to feel a little bit frustrated with our caregivers or our parents. Mm-hmm. And, like, oh, you know, because you did A, B, and C, now I have this, you know, anxious attachment style or whatever. And, like, that's not the goal. And I think, you know, most of the time our parents do the best thing, like, the best they can with what they're dealing with, you know, and so I don't want this to be like we're shitting on our caregivers, because that's not what it's about. It's, you know, maybe your caregiver, you know, maybe you had a single mom who was working 3 jobs to pay the bills and she wasn't around that much for you, you know, or maybe, like, your parent had a mental illness or a physical ailment, or, you know, I think a lot of times, like, we see this in, like, children who grow up in military families, because one of the caregivers, or sometimes both of the caregivers, are, you know, deployed for long periods of time. And so, you know, there's so many different factors that can create an insecure attachment style. So it's not about shitting on our parents or the job they did.
Right. I mean, I was actually worried about, because I sent the test to Alyssa, and I was just like, oh, I hope I didn't mess her up too bad. You know, because her dad really, from the age of 4 or 5, had nothing to do with her. He was not picking her up. He didn't have anything to do with her. But during her life with me, I was focused, whenever I was looking for a partner, for someone for her instead of for someone for me, you know? So when someone would come into her life, they were very, very good to her. And most of her life, I was a single mom, or I was dating someone, or with someone, and those people were really good for her. So Alyssa really had a village to take care of her. My parents were there a lot, because sometimes I had multiple jobs as a single mom. So my parents would take care of her a lot. They were there. Her other grandparents were there. So she had a lot of people in her family. So not like every person, you know, like, just because my parents were together, that's maybe not why I'm secure. I think it has a lot to do with it. But I think that I was just always trying to make Alyssa's life more stable. At the end of it, the relationship wasn't for me. That people that I was in a relationship with, it was for her, and it helped her. So she actually scored secure. Okay. And it's funny because on this test it puts like where your parents are, where you are in general, and with your partner. So me, her, and her partner were all in the secure. And her father was all the way in the disorganized, like all the way over here, but she was so far in the secure corner that she got secure.
That's awesome.
Because she didn't need him.
Yeah.
You know, like she got everything that she needed. So it made me feel really good. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I feel like, you know, she knew who I was and knew that I was there to help her, and everything that I did was for her. For sure. She knew that.
One thing that's funny that my clients tend to get a kick out of is a lot of times if we get the ick, it's because we're avoiding. Yeah. And like, okay, I'm like classic in my 20s and 30s, I would go on date upon date upon date upon a date. And I'd be like, no, I don't like this one. Like, I didn't like the shoes he was wearing. Or like, no, he was like, no, I did not like his style. Or difference between like a securely attached person, just like knowing what they want.
Yeah.
Right? Versus like an avoidantly attached person who's going to nitpick any little thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because that protects me, right? I'm avoidant. So
yeah, you definitely do. I remember when you were dating before, and I'd be like, that is the thing that is like taking you over. I'd be like,
right, because
we can change his clothes, Jamie.
I know.
Like, you know what I mean? If it's something that you can't change, that's when I'm like, okay, we can change this, and I'm not going to try to change this. But like his clothes.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. But yeah, and it is a subconscious thing, right? Because I'm automatically like, oh no, I can't date somebody who wears blah blah blah, or this guy has like his hands are way too small.
I have these small hands.
Like, you know, an avoidant will nitpick any little thing to protect themselves from having to get close to somebody. And usually, if we get the ick or we are nitpicking these little things, it's because that person is probably good for us.
It's true.
You know? But if I don't nitpick, then I'm going to get close to this person. And oh my gosh, then I have to be vulnerable. And then this person is going to like get to know me on a deeper level. But like that doesn't feel good to an avoidant all the time. You know what I mean? Right. And so subconsciously we just like find a reason to run away instead. So we don't have to go through the discomfort of being vulnerable and all those things. So if you find yourself getting the ick, question, like, is it actually because like I'm not attracted to this person, or could this be my little avoidant attachment kicked in and the little light switch went off and I'm being avoidant?
I don't know.
And if you're anxiously attached, you know, try to like, I think for anybody except for a secure, because you're perfect. But for those of us, the insecures, which is the anxious, the avoidant, and the disorganized, you know, really explore like what are your core beliefs about love and about relationships and about yourself. Like if one of your core beliefs is I'm not worthy of love, like that's something we got to work on, right?
Right.
Or like this is probably one of my core beliefs. I will never find a man that will like check all my boxes and I'll check his boxes.
She has to stop putting these things into the universe.
I know, right? That's like one of my core beliefs, that if I want to get back into the dating world, I'm going to have to work on this. So yeah, so we're going to put the link for the quiz that we took. And there's like a bunch of attachment style quizzes that you can take. There's like a bunch of free ones. The one that we took is just one of my favorites. And also I have a book recommendation if you want to learn more about attachment styles. This book, Attached, it's by Dr. Amir Levine and Rachel Heller. It's amazing, and it talks about all the different attachment styles, how it developed, and you know, how we can work on it, and also how you can like spot the attachment style in like a potential mate or person that you meet.
I've listed all mine. I'm like, oh, this is what was wrong with him.
Yeah.
But it's not that it's wrong with you.
No.
Okay? It's just like who you are as a person, and can you handle this? Mm-hmm. Can you not handle this? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, you really have to just be like, I know this person is a disorganized attachment style. Can I handle that? No. Mm-hmm. No. The answer is no. So.
And like I was saying before, like, it's all about communication. So if you have a thing where I get really anxious when when my partner goes out all night with his friends, and like, I want you to be able to go and have fun, but like, I do get anxious, and I would like check-ins, I would like for you to like text me that you're like, just so I know you're like still thinking about me or whatever.
Right.
Like, that's a request or a boundary, if you will, that an anxious person might want to set. Right. And so the dater, the guy, then gets to decide, okay, is this something I'm willing to do, and compromise? Or is this something that, like, no, I'm not going to do that? And if that's the case, well, then you guys aren't going to work together.
Right.
But so we just have to, like, kind of communicate about what makes us feel more secure in that relationship.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah.
So I guess that's all we have.
Yeah.
So next week we're going to be talking about living with gifts.
Yes.
So that's going to be great. We're going to talk about, if you have children with these gifts, and if you have gifts, how you can better ground yourself and, develop your gifts. So if you guys like this, like us, leave a comment below. Subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe.
Yes.
So we'll see you next week.
Follow us on social media.
Yeah, all the socials. Follow us.
Yes.
All right. Bye.
Bye.